Welcome back. This is the second part two of two parts, discussing software demos. And trying not to get my little dry board here to move too much. So let's get into what I believe was we left off at 5. The sixth thing, what kinds of demos are there? You might have a preconceived notion of what a demo is, but as we found out when we talked about pilots and we talked about a proof of concept versus a demonstration versus a part of a presentation, we talked about vaporware, screenshots. We didn't go into vaporware too much. Vaporware is kind of fun, where you basically take a screenshot and then you go into Photoshop or Paint.net or whatever, and you edit it so it says certain things. Looks like it's a screenshot from something real, but it isn't. It's a doctored screenshot. Good reasons to do it, good reasons not to. So there are, taking the definition demo and the problems with it aside for a moment, let's just talk about software, whether it's live, whether it's static, whatever. So in the generic, let's think about generic things first of all. In the generic world, nothing is specific to the opportunity. Now, there's a couple different things I've done. They're 5 to 10 minute, and I guess you could say 10 to, or even 15 to 20 minute short how-to videos. Now, these are the kind of things that come out of my learning the software when I started a company. I'll take the docs and I'll audit them basically, and I'll go through and I'll have the software up and running, and I'll start at the very beginning with the installation. Very seldom does the installation match the docs. You follow the docs, it simply doesn't work. The documentation is never kept up to date. It's just the least profitable thing to do when you add features. So I go through knowing that someone's going to be going through that, or that I'll have to maybe help if I'm part of the the initial crossover process. But I do 5 to 10 minute videos. I consider these short, and 5 to 10 or 15 to 20 being medium how-to videos. Now, the way you break these down is a single feature, like let's say how to add a user, and the video will have a common title, common outro, and contact information, that kind of thing. And in the middle, it will be, okay, we're going here, we're going to add a user. They'll pull down, here's the user's name, Fred. Fred is an administrator, Fred is a regular user, etc. Here's the choices that we make. And now we can see after adding Fred, Fred is here in the list of users. Done. That's it. Just how to do a simple single thing. And these are public. They're generic. They're out there for the public. I've only seen one company I worked for wanted existing, like they wanted the links hidden. And so that was just one company. For the most part, there's no shame in putting them out publicly. It's for some reason people think, PDMs especially, product development managers, that competition will see one of my 5-10 minute videos and they'll, I don't know, add that feature to their product. They already know what's in our product. They have a copy of it. We have copies of theirs. It's not, it's not quite as drastic as they'd let you make out. So it's true. Everybody has copies of their competitors' software. You just have to understand your differentiators. So anyway, that's something that you let out for the public. 15 to 20. That would be something like, let's go through the lifetime of a user. So where we just added a user there, let's go through the ad. We changed the user. They got promoted or they're doing a different function in the software, and we're removing them from the system. And we're taking and transferring their assets to another user, let's say. So that would be like a 15 to 20, the life cycle of a user, the life cycle of a document, the life cycle of a record, whatever it is the software is that you're helping sell. The longer videos I do for the like Deloitte and Touche and Forrester and all those. I've done videos of the entire product. So I would create a layout to describe the entire product, going through all the key features and functions. Typically, with most of them, they want to see their format, like follow theirs, because what they do is they do those magic quadrants and things like that. They look at, here's a chapter of video that I've done of screen capturing me doing something with the software. They then look at a competitor's same exact chapter doing the same exact thing. And they look at all these, just those one chapters. And that's why you have to organize them like that. And then they say, okay, who is best? Who is worst? And so I make these videos that never go public. They're for these assessment organizations that you pay a bunch of money to look good in. And usually those videos that I do are then made available to paying customers as kind of like documentation, right? I name them just right so the customers can find them and what stage. And I seldom ever, in fact, I don't remember ever looking at the documentation to follow some sort of routine, because documentation is usually never written in a way that's useful for that. The people who write documentation don't think of what's going to be done with their documentation. So it's usually very non-intuitive how things are linked together. So that's an idea of generic. Let's say, for example, we have another good one is, wow, these markers are really not doing well, are they? How about videos of setting up or using the software, but for, let's say, maybe I set one up for some shoe company, but we're giving it to a car paint company or something, whatever it would be, the military, maybe even a lot of those around, actually, military surfaces and painting and coatings. The vertical is radically different, but it's the same software. So you might say, well, okay, I made this video for this paint place, and there you go. You run into a couple of problems that I've seen real life, where they've decided to let data go in and names and things, and they didn't clean it. They didn't have me clean it. And I said, okay, just, be sure you're always using this for this, or at least go through and clean. No, it'll be fine. Well, they don't. And then they're demoing to another company. They were doing it for the same vertical, and the people they knew the people that were in the data. They knew their names. It was close enough vertical that people had moved from one company to the one we were demoing to. So very, very awkward to go, well, yeah, here's all the information and data we have on all these users and such that are, they very well could have been somebody in the room. Thank God they weren't, but very embarrassing when your sales guys don't really take what you say seriously. And then, of course, they turn around and blame you for it. Another good one that I've argued with lots of PDMs about are videos And again, I'm kind of doing this whole 5 to 10, 15 to 20, but, or a run through of a scenario. I didn't really get into the longer one, but scenarios are in here. So scenarios are more like, and forgive me for not covering this up here. Scenarios are more like, okay, we've got a new product and we want to see it go in and we want to take it all the way to somebody's buying it and manufacturing, or through the manufacturing life cycle or something like that, where it's a scenario. Customer A, Acme, whatever, comes in and they want to do the following. How do you deal with that, right? We'll actually touch on that too in a little bit when we talk about targeting. But okay, so scenarios are in there, versus a feature, right? So a scenario is like a show the features in order that you would use, the features and functionality to complete a scenario. So the videos can also be a hypothetical. Now, you run into a problem here, and I always have this argument with PDMs. The hypothetical video, they'll say, well, we serve many verticals. If you have software, big ticket software, serving many verticals. And this was BPM software, as a matter of fact. In this example I have in my mind, business process management. And they said, well, we're just going to pick a business because all businesses are the same. And so we'd say, what's the best kind of business to have? And for one company, it was fishing equipment, because they needed a backdrop. They needed Billy Bob's Fishing Equipment Emporium. And so you have this hypothetical company that you have as the company the software is running at. And then Billy Bob has customers, and Billy Bob has manufacturers and reps, and you make it into whatever you need to highlight the parts of your product that this quarter or this year look a lot better than your competitors. So you want to go ahead and highlight those differentiators. You're not just making random videos. You're making them on topics that are going to work for you. Always get in an argument about how much you could use hypothetically. Could you put the pieces together? So generic, then there'd be specialized into two different verticals. Then they would have another component, and then they would come back into a generic and a generic, and talking about how you could make a series of demo or parts of the software or configuration, or which one's vaporware, such that you have as little duplication as possible and as much reuse as you can. You'll find yourself in this argument quite often. Hey, it's just easier to make one hypothetical company, or it's a little harder, but you can make a hypothetical company in your three primary verticals: insurance, healthcare, and retail fish. And you say, well, okay, I'm only making three, so maybe there's only three of these little paths that you would take. So be mindful that it's not as simple as just do a demo. There are lots of, and of course this folds into the print material too, the presentations that you'd give, and handouts and leave behinds. So be mindful. This stuff can go on the web and be on your website and illustrate how flexible you are. Do you want to be flexible, or do you want to come at an insurance company and say, all we do is insurance, or at least don't have to say it, everything they see is about insurance? These are very, very important decisions you have to make, because it sets the tone for how much the prospect thinks that you know about their problem, or their solution they're looking for, or the opportunity. Because remember, they're not buying features. They're buying because you understand what they're going through. You understand their business. You understand the opportunities they have to create. It has nothing to do with features. So the hypothetical all of a sudden becomes very important, because if they see a fishing example, right, and their insurance, they're going to go, why are we here? What are we doing here? They're not even going to listen to what you're saying. So just be mindful of that. Depending on the product you have, yeah, it might be good for everybody, but do you really want to show a military painting and surfacing company, your software running a ma and pa flower shop, look at it from their point of view. These guys didn't even do their homework. They don't even know what we do. So targeted is the opposite, or the evolution of generic, where now we're starting to take into account the prospect, just like we said. But instead of maybe as specific as a vertical, maybe it's a little bit more specific. In some cases, you'll start with one and you'll go to another. I don't like those. I don't like them. I don't like doing it half-ass and then coming back and doing it legitimately for their particular application vertical, or even their specific company with them in mind, branding, etc. I'm sure you can think of why that's not a good idea. So if not, in the comments, just ask. So one of the most common things that I'll have to get the sales rep and their boss and the PDM to settle on is I'll ask them, I said, do you want us to show your stuff in our software? So you give me some stuff, you give me some data, and I will put that in. I'll convert it. I'll do whatever. Usually prospects have no trouble with this. Even military ones, they actually know how to go through and cleanse the data, or they'll give you something that's so old it doesn't do anybody any good. If you leaked it. So the next step is the branding. And let me tell you, just like they love to hear their mission, vision, value statement memorized, they love seeing their own logo. Just love it. They can't get enough of their own logo. So you might say their branding, it could be sayings, logo, look and feel, colors. I really want them to go, oh, I see myself in this solution. I want them to go, I'd love my desktop to look like that. Wow, this other stuff we're using is crap compared to this. Look, it's got our colors from our logo. It's got our motto. It's got all this other jazz on it. A picture of the building, whatever it happens to be. It's easy to do. Another one people don't think about, categories. So they have data, and I'm not speaking to any particular software vertical. They have data, and they categorize it in certain ways. Even to where, and I got burned on, not burned, but I had this happen. They call an X Y. What does that mean? There's certain terms that are universally recognized when you work with lots of different kinds of software. So, for example, database rows are considered records. It's just kind of the way it evolved. But they one prospect, they dealt with databases all the time, but their processes called it something else. Now I can't even remember what it was, but I remember it was like it's a record in your database. It's a record. It's got a record of whatever, and they thought records were somehow logs, record of something that may have happened. And so you got to be careful and listen. And that's another reason why the sales engineers have to be there with the reps at the first meetings to find out and read their documentation. What are they calling Y? Oh, they call it X. Great. Then we're just going to call it that. You're not there to teach people. You're not there to make them feel inferior. You're not there to correct them. Okay. You're not going to get very far like that, right? I always say you want to be right or rich. It's just make up your mind. So branding, logos, categories, talk about their stuff in their language. It's very targeted. And another one that you'll get out of a proof of concept, but it's a kind of demo, would be you asked us, so maybe there was like a previous meeting or something like that, some sort of call. You asked us to show you this particular data being ingested. And we'd like to show you what we've done with that. We'd like to show you we made up some data. We used something what you had. You wanted to see the process of importing because you've had nothing but trouble with what you have now. We're going to show you how our approach is towards importing, and hopefully there's enough of a difference there for you to want to do business with us. It's no secret you're trying to sell them something. The other thing that comes out of this is the risk of live. So the risk, and I just mentioned about vaporware and everything, live versus vaporware. There is a risk reward here. Vaporware is very safe, very inflexible, and the people who show this don't have to know anything about what they're doing. If somebody says, well, can it do this or that? Can you show me this or that? No, I can't. This is vaporware. I just made it up. Our product doesn't really do this. If I had the live product in front of me, I could not show you doing this. But maybe it was included because it's pre-release. You know, you're lying through your teeth, or you're telling the truth and you're saying, hey, we've got this feature in testing right now. It's an alpha. It's going to be in wide beta in a couple of weeks out to some of our key customers that like to be cutting edge. And I wanted to let you, your excuses, I wanted to let you see what that's going to look like. I can't run it here because we don't want you to get the wrong impression that we would push something out and try it live when it might give an unpredictable result, and that would give you an untoward impression of our software, right? And that's, I think everybody would understand that. Live, on the other hand, you want somebody who knows what they're doing. I got trapped into doing a live demo at a company in Long Island, and for a company in Long Island in New York City, and they made me do it live, and after like 4 months, I could not figure out. This software was so complicated, the way they threw it together, multiple languages, multiple technologies, and I could not figure it out. Well, of course it goes bad. Now, when it goes south and I'm on site and I can't fix it, I don't even know where all the configs are for all the different processes that are running. It's super convoluted software. I had to have somebody phone in, WebEx them in, or it was WebEx at the time, and they would fix the thing while we're all standing around. It was really horrible. You don't want to go through that like I had to. So you want to be able to handle just about any kind of problem with it. Now, the problem with sales engineers is unless you've come up through the ranks of the company, which is rare, you won't have a lot of time on the help desk with the software. So you won't have like installed it lots and lots of times. You won't have gone into the configs and changed and fixed things. And what impact does that have? Style sheets, things like that. So it takes time for this. Please don't feel like you have to give something live and react spontaneously to somebody going, hey, well, show us this thing over here. Hey, I heard you guys were good at this. And you have no data set up for it. You haven't practiced it once. You just haven't. And for whatever reason, just don't do it. It's never going to end up well. If you look good in front of the customer because you figured out how to do it, it's something they would have expected. You're not winning. So if you say, well, that feature doesn't, let's, cover your butt, right? That actual feature doesn't work on my limited laptop version. My laptop only has the bare bones in it. Just to give you guys an idea or a feel for what the software does, it does so much, it couldn't possibly run respectably on something as tiny as my laptop. But this is my only choice. It's either that or I haul a 200-pound box on my back, and everybody laughs and visualizes that, and they go, yeah, okay, we understand. But I say, but I'll tell you what, let's have an online, a WebEx webinar, they call them now, but let's do this on WebEx when when it's convenient for you, and it will log into an actual system and do that. So what I'm doing is I'm basically getting myself out of it and having someone else do it for them that will be live in front of the machine knowing what to do. And a lot of the nice presenting software, I haven't covered this because we haven't talked about the actual presenting quite yet in the series, will let you pause the screen. Best thing ever invented. Where I've said, okay, let me go check something, and I can pause the screen. Whatever it was doing, it freezes, and behind the scenes, I'm searching. I can't find it. I'm doing whatever. And usually in an online situation like that, we've got perhaps a rep on site, and the rep is like, if they're good, they're pulling out more requirements. Oh, so what we've seen so far, we're planning on showing you this. What do you think about that? You keep them talking and giving you information while I'm behind the scenes scrambling the mouse around and everything, logging onto different screens, different machines, RDPing, and they've got, a nice, clean, frozen where they were screen to stare at. Please don't get trapped like I have. You really have to stand up to these reps, but have a decent excuse. Like I said about my laptop not being able to run it, that's a great go-to. Don't start saying, well, my rep knows better. They know I don't know how to do that. Get out of it with no gain rather than some loss. Just keep it even if you can. So let's about the demos. What are we up to now? 7. Let's do. How do you do a demo? Now, as you can tell, I keep things really simple. You ask a question, simple question. How do you do a demo? There's a couple of ways that you can do this. Now, remember the triads that I'm always talking about. So we have, in the case of doing a demo, what their business need is might be here. What we say, how I see my solution though, is over here. So I see my solution here and I see their business need here. But the reality is my product can only do this. So think of it like perspective. You may go into a demo properly qualifying the prospect, and you will say, they think they're looking for this, but we need to provide this over here. Like, the more sure a prospect is that they know what they want and what they need, the less likely it is they do. Inversely proportional, whichever way you want to look at it. The problem is that there's always this third one that says, but this is what they really need. So we have a solution. They have this preconceived notion of what they need, and they're trying to match us to it. Again, they're trying to qualify. We don't let them qualify us. We keep that open. We never give them enough information for them to qualify us and say no. Because remember, qualification can fail. Qualification isn't just, oh, well, they were never qualified. No, we can be disqualified, unqualified in their eyes. We don't ever want to give them enough information, can't pound it in enough to make that assessment and not return our calls and say that we're done. We're always presenting and doing things for the next step. We never go to the end of one particular step and go, can we continue? Like, no, I'm not asking their permission. We're the experts. We're supposed to know what we're doing. That's embarrassing. So you might have you ever seen these? The script reader. Now, this is as bad as the weatherman that you have, right? 42, 75, 81, 21, 34, hut, where they just point at a number and read it. If you were to stop them, they wouldn't know what to do with a question. So you have to have blinders on. I'm reading my script. Please hold all questions. Hold all questions. I got to read my script. And that doesn't come across as very confident, professional, or capable. So you can work things in to help there. I like things like describe as loose, interactive, and almost like relaxed. It's a hard one here. Relaxed casual, but not relaxed casual. You get to a point where you're so confident in front of people that you are not stressed about where you are, how you look, things like that. You're enjoying and genuinely smiling, and in good body positions to convey that you enjoy what you're doing. That's relaxed and casual. When you enjoy what you're doing and you're letting people talk and you're keeping eye contact, they're the only one in the room, all those, then you're going to just convey more confidence and be more approachable and be more believable to the prospect. So relaxed and casual, if you don't have your act together, you don't know what you're doing cold and have experience behind you, you're never going to appear. You're going to be sweating. And you're never going to remember what you're supposed to cover or not. You're going to take the meeting event planner, the demo event planner out, and you're going to throw it out the window, and you're going to be a mess. And you're going to have to stand there and wait for the prospect to tell you what to do. That's not a good use of time. So I like loose interactive, things like that. Interactive. This is when, I whip out the mission, vision, values. They're, we talk about things like features and functions and capabilities, but we're capabilities. Oh, I'm awful. We talk about features, functions, and capabilities, but only as they apply to the business need, whether it's a problem or an opportunity. I don't go through a list of every feature, every function. Please hold all your questions. I only talk about the capabilities. Why? Because you're going to bore people to death. There is for demos, you have a couple of key milestones. And again, forgive me, but I'm really hitting all this at a high level to give you a lot in a short period of time. These all deserve a lot more explanation. So trust me, I'm not giving you the thorough explanations of everything, but they're so common sense you can keep them at the top of your head if you just do it a lot. Think about the last time you listened to somebody tell you, or a television show, or a book that you read, or somebody just telling you a story. Did you wait for half an hour or 45 minutes to see if you were engaged or interested or whatever? No, of course not. You were ready to hit the door in 30 seconds. So imagine you've got a room full of people like that are trying to look unimpressed in front of everybody else, right? You've got a couple of key milestones. Within 1 minute, you must have demonstrated confidence, knowledge, and these are mine, so you're not going to find them anywhere. Confidence, knowledge, and I can only describe it as a curiosity. A statement that is like the mission, vision, values is your knowledge of the company and what they do. That tells them that you understand. It doesn't matter if it's your 100th shoe company, you just tell them. Confidence is the way you deliver this first minute, and a minute goes by very, very fast. Curiosity is you leave them with something that they didn't expect in that first minute. You script yourself in your mind knowing that nobody's going to interrupt you in that first minute or so. So you get to say something that is going to wake them up and let them sit back and think, wait a second, he knows and what was that thing he said? So you might pick some statistic out, some obscure statistic about their line of work. Did you know that 68% of people who use products like yours never return to the same brand? There's no brand loyalty? And, they're all going to go, oh, yeah, we knew that, but they didn't. And it shows that you're pulling something out of left field that you're going to have to tie that business need or that business objective or that factor or whatever it is, that curiosity sits over here, then you're going to be drawing, however tenuous, and building on it, again, with person, concept, company, the features, functions, capabilities that your particular software has, but not as rote, but as almost a story. You're not there to rattle off numbers like the weatherman, 48, 42, 41, 40. Oh, down by the coast, 45. Right? You're killing people like that. Sorry about that light reflection. It lights everything else up pretty well. In the 2 minutes, you have to do credibility. This is the old, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you, then I'm going to tell you what I told you, right? So now you back up this knowledge, this statement with a little bit of credibility. And we've worked with companies like yours throughout North America in this industry and that industry. In this industry, we own 34% of that market, actually, in EMEA. So, oh, wow. Okay. So you guys might really know what you're talking about. And you might be glad to know that over half the people that we talk to who aren't using our product have exactly the same situation that you do. They can't, blah, blah, blah. So this is what we call the statement of need. Statement of need. Other companies are in your same situation. Oh, okay. Now you're not saying they're stupid. You're not saying that they're only in this situation because they have no clue what they're doing. You're saying, hey, you know what? All your bigger competitors, everybody else, they're all having the same problem. And here it is. They want to be able to, whatever it is, more with less. They want to be able to increase their penetration. They want to be able to do local service, but yet sell internationally. They want to be able to comply with regulations that are varied depending on the state or country that this process goes through. So all these things that you talk about should be on their highest radar of their strategic leadership. These should be all the things that the strategic leadership of the company has been hammering the people who use and benefit from the software about all the time. Nobody in the boardroom is going, we really need a 10K resistor there instead of a 15. That's not what they're saying. They're not saying, oh, if you only had Java version 21.50 instead of 21.49. Nobody in the boardroom that has the pen that can sign off on $1 million deals is saying that. They're going, shareholders are breathing down my neck because so-and-so, our competitor, just went international. Or they're offering service for free for the first year, or whatever it is they're doing. These are the things that they're concerned with, and you have to hit those. Do your research, dig, get in the news, find out what's going on in the industry with your existing customers, look them up, call them up and say, hey, I'm curious, how are you doing? How's this working for you? Get some information from them, pick up a trade rag, hit the news groups, whatever you have to do. Don't expect your rep to know anything. They're just going to say, I don't know, just go ahead and show them the software. Unfortunately, your commission, hopefully your comp like that, depends on the deal closing. You will actually be hungrier than they are. After the statement of need, you give them the plan. So my approach to getting you to where you want to go is going to be first to document or assess or whatever. Some people have problems with the word assessment, but in a methodology, it's just one part. It's not a discrete opportunity, right? My 6Ds methodology covers that. So you say, my plan is that we're going to take you from A to Z, but we're going to do it with low-hanging fruit first, or, best bang for the buck first, or the cheapest to the most expensive, because you got to get that approved over a couple of quarters. Whatever it is, You've already figured all that stuff out. And this is, again, why you cannot lead with some sort of demo, setting an expectation that you're going to be able to talk about these when it's the first time you've ever spoken to them. Leading with a demo sucks. How are you going to come across as credible if you have no idea what's going on? You've never spoken to them. You have no idea what their trouble is. How are you going to do that? So now you see why it's impractical for yet one of many reasons. My plan is this, and I'm going to show you how that will look, or at least one part of it. So the first stage might be that we're going to go ahead and change the way we model your customer base so that we can capture a lot of this feedback that they're giving in social media. We can scan for sentiment in the news groups and Twitter, Facebook, etc., and combine that with the visceral feedback that we're getting from interviews and installations and things. We want to change our brand. We want to hit lots of nails here. This is going to be great. And then you do the old, how are we doing? Now, I can't tell you how difficult this is for people to do that are in a presentation, a technical sales, if you want to call it that. There are misconceptions. I hesitate to say that. They don't stop the script, right? That's stopping the script and going, do I need to change? Because if my script was going along 1, 2, 3, and then all of a sudden I said, I'm from New England, I don't usually breathe. How are we doing here? Is this going to be a good hour for you guys? Do you think now that I've set things up, we're all the right people are in the room? And they might say, well, yeah, but we really, since talking to you last time, have discussed that we'd really rather see this over here for today because we have an immediate need for this. Absolutely. No problem at all. I'm not going to, yeah, let's take a look. I'll see how much I have prepared here that I've brought with me for that because you kind of caught me off guard, but I don't mind. Let me see how far I can get. Now you got a built-in excuse. You can fail and nobody minds. And the reason they don't mind is because you tried. You cannot fail if you volunteer. Wow, that is strong. You cannot fail if you volunteer to help them and they throw a curveball at you. If you don't do so good, they're like, hey, we threw a curveball at them, We're just glad they said anything. So, have you seen something you want to discuss further into either today, or do you want us to come back and circle around to that? Maybe one person in the group says, well, gee whiz, I really wanted to see this thing that you were going to talk about. Now you guys are going to take the whole day and take a left turn. Well, that's one person, and you already know who they are and their impact. If your sales rep did their job, you're prepared. And if they won't do it or can't do it, you have to. And you know instinctively whether or not it's worth that one person getting their way or all the others that came with an expectation. So this one might be a real pill. And you can tell because you can look at everybody else and are they rolling their eyes? Right? So you got this one saying, no, I want my own way. And these guys are going to be all, boo. Well, you got to play that politics. Right? It's a matter of votes. And you need all the votes you can get. So bear in mind, you have to have a qualified yes, right? Because we don't do no's. We do qualified yeses. A qualified yes means, I want to see this feature, but you say you want to go ahead and change and talk about whatever. The mob rules. And I say, well, I'll tell you what. I can't say no, right? We don't say no. Whether you're a rep or whether you're a sales engineer, you don't. You say, how about if I arrange just a one-on-one with you and I'll get on your schedule And you and I can take all the time you need to talk about exactly the things that matter most to you. And we won't have to worry about doing it in a group. You and I can just spend a concentrated hour on exactly what you wanted to focus on. Now you're giving them a choice that is acknowledging them. You're giving them attention, and you're giving them, how can you put it? You're giving them power or stature in the pack, right? So if you say, "No, forget it, mob rules, take a hike," they're down here, everybody else is up here. Now I'm saying, no, you matter just as much, but because of time considerations, I can't really be here all day because, somebody needs the conference room or whatever, we're out of cookies. Then I'm going to go ahead and do for you alone what I was going to do for everybody. Wow, now they feel a little bit extra special. You can take, if you're smart and you think about these things happening in your mind and run through your answers, you can come through smelling like roses as long as you have the responses that are going to make everybody feel like they're the only ones in the room. Let them feel special. And that's how I would handle this. This person probably get up and go, and I just finish up with these. Or maybe they would stay to save face. Who knows the internal politics going on and the fiefdoms and all that other jazz? Who knows? So I treat everybody ultimate respect, and I say, okay, I have to do this, but I'm going to take care of you personally. I think people like that. I've never had somebody say no, ever. They always went, "Oh, well, okay," and they stand up a little straighter. And I'm like, okay, so I do matter. Yeah, maybe there's a small person in the pack when I'm not there, but I'm giving them respect in front of their peers. Okay, enough about that. The casual method was hitting bullets. So, for example, you've seen me write down a bullet, and I've pretty much talked about that bullet. I haven't written every word that I've said, right? Now, you know how they do the professors, right? Like, this will be on the test, and they write something. I prefer things to be topic subject, and I turn around and I look at my audience, and I say, okay, I believe this subject, this area, this thing that we're talking about, this topic is important to you for the following reasons. So I'm not just saying, "Oh yeah, dude, whatever that thing is, oh yeah, it's like important or something," right? No, I say exactly what it is and exactly why it's important. Why do I do that? Once again, always, 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 they don't care about features and functions and capabilities. They don't care. What they really care about and what keeps them on the edge of their seat is, do you understand my problem? Do you understand the opportunity I'm trying to create? Do you understand me? That's it. And that's why you're looking at the buyer more than anybody, and you're talking about your business goals for them, how you're going to help their business, how you're going to help them align with their mission, vision, values, and those top three, I won't even call them problems, concerns, issues, opportunities that we talked about before. What is on that CTO or the CIO's plate right now? You might even, and I love doing this, quote the highest level person that's going to be in the meeting. Go back, look up quotes from key quotes from trade rags, from interviews, their own websites, news releases, and find a good sentence that lines up with what you're talking about. These are the undeniables that I talked about, where you can look that decision maker in the eye and say, what I'm proposing here will do no less than align with the business, with the customers in the area of automotive coatings. Knowing that I've basically stated an exact quote from them that they've recently made. And they know what their quotes are, okay? They got those articles pasted on their wall. So they know I am hitting every keyword, and it's undeniable. They can't say, "Nuh-uh, that's not what we're trying to do." Like, well, yeah, it's framed in the lobby, okay? So just be mindful. That's how you give compelling arguments. So give the bullets, turn around, say, "Here's the bullet," and let the conversation go about the bullet whichever way it has to go. Based on what we've talked about so far, Are we hitting the mark? Have you seen something you want to discuss further? Is there something you want to address later in a follow-up or something? I don't necessarily, in fact, ever commit to coming out. I might want to do it remotely, but I don't talk about that there. It's not the point. It's not the place to nitpick about flying out or something. I just go, that we will cover in a demo, blah, blah, blah. But I have to be mindful that the rep is probably not thinking of keeping the sales cycle succinct and short. They will want it short to the point of pain, and will lose the deal, where I'm saying, yeah, we still have to win over so-and-so. We have to show this thing. It's their biggest issue with the competition that they're trying to kick out. Just be mindful of that. The great way to let it flow and talk about what they really need to talk about is to just do the bullets. And as I talk, I have or maybe for that segment, I'll put all 3 of the bullets there so that when we get bogged down in A, I can say, I would love to talk more about this because it's a topic near and dear to me as well. For the rest of everybody here, though, I did promise I'd go through these another couple of things. Let's see if we have time at the end to circle back to A. And for now, I want to touch quickly on B and C, right? So I do my presentations in segments like that. Again, just like the processes, so I know where I am. I'm not all over the place. And of course, we got the meeting event planner and the demo event planners, which I'll discuss. Look at the time. I'll discuss it hopefully at the end of here. I'll at least tell you what they are. So the question then that you talk about with follow-ups is naturally the next question that comes up. Is this the last demo? And again, please, I'm using the word demo as loosely as it should be used. Are we planning on this being the last one? Now, what are you talking about, Pat? How do you know that? What do you mean? Well, remember what I said. A demo can be constructed in such a fashion that you can say, if we can demonstrate that we can do what we claim, will you sign on the dotted line? That would be the purpose of a single demo or the last in a series. You got to know, is this the last demo? Because if you get scope creep, where somebody says, yes, I know you were here to show the capability you promised you said you could do, and then we can sign, because we always demo at the end of the sales cycle, not at the beginning, then I'll buy it. Then what are you doing setting up additional demos and you're overselling, or you're giving somebody a reason to say no. Oh, now that I've seen this other thing, put the brakes on this. So don't open yourself up for failure when you've already convinced the buyers and the business owners that it's what they're going to need. Vetoes, unfortunately, can come in from left field from people who aren't even impacted by what you're saying and what you're selling and who you're selling it to. And because of whatever reason, they're the owner's nephew, they may actually be able to stop the process. So don't leave yourself open for scope creep. In this case, the scope of the demonstration, what it was supposed to do, the end of the sales cycle, whatever you want to call it, don't open that up. Keep them discreet. Keep them lined up. If they want to approach something else and they're concerned about talking about another feature, another issue, another problem that is not related to what you have to get accomplished, acknowledge it. Say, you know what? Let's take that up as another opportunity. That's exactly what I say. Let's take that up as another opportunity, and let's figure out exactly what it's going to take to make you successful with regard to your widgets keep falling off the forklift or whatever it is. Okay? I never try to let scope creep muddy where we are in the sales process, because even though I'm almost at the end, they can drag me all the way to the back by changing the scope. Just be careful. Is this the last demo? Don't cram it in. Even if it is the last demo, don't cram. Don't get to the last 5 or 10 minutes and fly. Just say, I hope we've covered everything else. You got somebody helping you watch the clock. It's another thing I'll show, the tricks that you do when you have somebody else with you, because you're not going to notice. You're going to be too closely absorbed in your audience. You say, I have 10 minutes left. With only 10 minutes left, what are the things that we can talk about and I can discuss with you here or show you that'll make the most impact to get you on board with us? Not a decision. Again, they don't make the decision. I make the decision. And then let them tell you how to spend that last 10 minutes. Don't wait until the last second and say, oh, remember that issue we were going to get back to? Sorry, we never. And make them feel like an idiot. Don't do that. One enemy amongst a group of friends can take you down. Don't have any enemies on their side. So, wrapping things up here. Should we come back, talk to the group, presenting, eye contact, knowing people's names, augmenting the sales process that the rep already has, things like that. Effort and reward we talked about. What are you going to get out of all this? What I meant about that was, are you going to learn something from the demo? Do you have a rep that you can wake up once in a while and say, hey, why don't you ask some clarifying questions here now that we've discussed a little bit? Hey, the solution here, does that sound like, that sounds an awful lot like what we talked about before. The rep that doesn't know what they're talking about will go, is any of this sound okay to you? Right? Because they haven't been listening. So be prepared for those kinds of situations. It's a Scout's motto, but it's true. The last thing that I want to talk about, beyond presenting for the next presentation, are what I've come to call demo event planners or plans and meeting event plans. Now, I've got semi-cleansed versions of these that I can show, not right in front of me though, and so I'm going to hit on them real quick because we're coming up on time. Basically, what it involves is I like to make things simple for people to remember easy. So I make a sheet of paper, single sheet, never more than one. And for both of these, it's the same. You have your have-tos, or whatever you want to call it, these must-be-dones. This is a series of checkboxes and blanks, like after what they are, that you have to walk out of here with that you don't know now. This is qualifying information. It could be, and these are blanks because each opportunity is different. On the top, you can have, what the opportunity is, whatever you like to have to help this be filed and put in a database. But basically, what are the questions or the statements or the items or the whatever that I have to either have answered or have an answer for or explore? Are they under any kind of SEC requirements? Are they? Do they have any FICA regulatory issues to consider? Do they have fines against them now? Is there, all these weird things? How many installations do you have? We forgot to ask. Crazy stuff. Then you have the nice to haves. These are the if we get time. These sheets are for everybody who's in the meeting, even if they're remote. Like, for example, you might have your CEO remote standing by to answer any questions, right? Could be one of those kinds of sales calls or whatever. I want them to have a copy of the demo event plan and the meeting event plan, the same exact copy we all have. So they can see, oops, you missed one of the ones I think is very, very important. Let me weave that into the conversation by asking a certain question of maybe the most senior person there, right? Don't just make everybody part of the team. And your rep won't know how to do this. You're going to have to keep people organized. Engineers think methodically. Salespeople do not. You're going to have to think like an engineer. So think about it. Okay, what are the things we have to be? Boy, if we have time, I'd love to know if their XYZ is really plugged into an ABC, because most everybody's is. And if that's so, man, we can knock this out of the park, because I can do a matrix comparison of what they have and what we're proposing. And it would just be check, check, check. Okay, great. Super good to know. Is it a have to know? Whatever. Then I have things down below, which is the only way that I've been able to think about it is reference. Like, because this is a meeting or a demo, and people, like I said, the CEO could be just a hired gun sitting on the side, maybe not even needed. I have to have right there in front of somebody all the players. So the players are, I leave empty for who's on the call. So maybe we don't know on the call or live who everybody is, but we jot them down as we go. Or if I'm up at the front where I usually am, I'll have my rep fill in these blanks with who the people are in the room. And maybe he'll already know their emails or their phone numbers and such. But, at least we can look that up later. The other things are the folks we do know ahead of time. For instance, the people that I'm going to quote, or maybe the mission, vision, values is here for people who don't bother to memorize, or things that are going to be very, very useful. The things, the information, the stuff they have, just like, they're using Oracle XYZ. Okay, great. That's good to know. And they're at 20 different sites. Okay, great. That tells me how much money they're spending. That tells me how serious they are about it and their licensing. Okay, good. Any information, it's like reference information that I can just look at, and there it is. If it's a have to, by the way, can also be what to show. We can sometimes, especially if you get people that are in this whole script thing, that they'll forget that the key differentiator that they're looking for is X. So we have to make sure that we showed X as part of either a live demonstration, the vaporware, whatever it is, or at least that we covered X, because X is the one that's going to give us the dollars. So just be mindful. And this is why I created these, because I deal with so many different styles of reps and people that are interns I'm training, and executives that I'm dragging in, hey, CTO, just be on the call in case they ask a big high level question, or they want a high level return, because sometimes response, a lot of times they're guys with the spaghetti, and in the Navy we know that as the officers. They don't like getting answers from a technical person. Like, they look down on sales reps and even sales engineers. So they'll go, well, Bob, who's on the phone back at corporate, what do you think about all this? Is it going to lower my ROI and my TCO? And yeah, actually it will. You'll make X amount of money, and we're going to reach our revenue targets, and, we're being adopted more and more. And, your CXO, your CTOs, they can whip out obscure statistics that'll be, again, you make that one guy in the crowd the leader of the pack, right? You got to pay homage to the spaghetti, the scrambled eggs. It's just the Navy thing. You got to know who to respect. Don't leave anybody out. Calibrating your reps is the only thing I'll say next. Calibrating your reps involves, remember I said there's a different styles for every rep. The fact is that you are tasked with making them successful. Really, you are. Your job really has nothing to do with software and hardware and programming and all that. Your job is that you've got to make sales reps successful, because they are the ones whose revenue goals are tied to the success of the company and your salary. So I've said a million times, you can't be pig-headed. If you are, go back to writing code in a corner, wearing jeans, torn jeans and sneakers, because you don't get it yet. Okay. You're the king maker as a sales engineer. The problem is that you're going to meet reps with all kinds of attitudes, usually bad. Again, forgive me for calling it what it is. They have bad attitudes. And they're pretty much unworkable and very annoying people to work with every day, but they're exactly the kind of personality to be a hunter. So yes, to you, they'll blame you for everything. They'll say all their failures were because of you. We've talked about how to get around that kind of a thing and prepare yourself for that damage control ahead of time for your reputation and your job. Blame management is what I called it. But on the more positive end, work with their supervisors, kind of like what I said in the first part of this, to figure out where it is they need to expand without telling them, I think, Jim Bob, you really need to get more technical when it comes to the XYZ converter cables. They're going to tell you you're full of crap. And really you are. What you need to get them calibrated is why didn't you get a hold of me on the first sales call? Why are we doing a demo the second time we've ever even met them? Why aren't you qualifying these leads? And I always say, my boss, I give the excuse now, I don't stand in front of the bull, okay? I say my boss requires that qualification be done properly on a prospect before I'm allowed to leave and go help somebody. Now, you know the rep's not going to go complain to your boss. I want him to go out with absolutely no information and no qualification. I just want to make activity. He's never going to say that to your boss. So you're like, hey, buddy, if it was up to me, I'd demo all day long. I don't care. In reality, you do. So just be mindful. Don't step in front of the bull. When it comes to doing demos and doing them at the right time and in the right format, just be sure that you're doing it with a calibrated rep, not somebody who's going to say, well, I could have closed that deal if he wouldn't have said he wasn't going to do the demo. So never say no, even to your reps. Give them a qualified yes. Yes, I think it's a great idea that we do the demo for them. Are they qualified? Are we at that stage yet? Is there an identified opportunity? Is there the budget for it? Is there a buyer identified, discrete sales opportunity, date-related motivation? I'm telling you, buddy, I'm with you, but my boss is going to ask for those things, and only if I can give him a good answer for all of them is he going to let me go. So maybe you and I should work on that. And that's how I calibrate a rep without causing grief. All right? I caused enough grief here. This went on long enough. Like I said, please understand, these are lectures. These are not quick hit, trivial little videos. If you are interested in this topic, you will find this interesting, if not to reaffirm what you already know. You will benefit from my experience. Am I the most experienced? No. Am I the most talkative? Yeah, probably. Do I bring all angles of sales engineering to you? I sure hope so. And because I always take their perspective, your perspective, the rep's perspective, your boss, everybody into account. And we look at an issue from all sides. If you feel I'm not doing that, if you do, go ahead and like the videos, subscribe. They motivate me to make more and to take, my thoughts and organize them in a way that'll help you. I try to kind of compartmentalize them as best I can, so it's not just a series of random topics. So please like and share. And subscribe if you think that this is something that can help you. And, I read all the comments and I reply to every one of them, I think, that bears replying. And I want to know what you think is best here, because we're going to be moving from talking about the demos and what they are and why they're so important to a fictitious company. And we're actually going to sell something fictitious to that fictitious company. And I want to get into showing very basic PowerPoint layout, not how to use PowerPoint, just how to lay something out. It just so happens PowerPoint's popular. I'll use that. How to take your screenshots and images, the tools I use, because I own all my own tools, and that kind of thing. So we won't get into animation right away, but we'll get into just laying out things, just, what's enough, what's too much for, again, high ticket to medium ticket software sales. As a sales engineer, you're expected to be the sidearm. You're expected to have all the magic. You can't pass the buck. Everything stops with you when it comes to talent. So until next time, thank you very much for your participation and your enthusiasm into a fabulous field that I've made quite a career out of. I'll talk to you guys.